Welcome to the Mind Body Energy in Balance podcast.
All right. Peace and love, everybody. It's so good to be here with you once again. Information and excitement I want to share with you. So I don't know if you've noticed or paid attention, but I've recently had quite a bit of success with my weight loss journey. And I just wanted to share with you, I know that there are probably tons and tons of women and men, but women specifically out there who are in a menopausal space and, just kind of put on weight and decided that they, look, this is it, or are trying to figure out how to go about, correcting the weight problem. I just want to say that a lot of times when we have these life dynamics, right, and we pick up a lot of weight and things like that, we have some self-talk that is really not really helpful to what it is that we want to do and what we want to achieve, right? So here are my 5 steps. First 5 steps. This will probably be an ongoing discussion, but my 5 steps that help me adjust the weight loss and to gain momentum with a healing journey towards my mind, body, and energy and my weight. Put these glasses on, y'all, so I can see what is happening around here. All right. So the first step, you got to get your mind right. Right? That's the first thing. The mental process that we go through within anything in our life is important. You got to get your mind right. Self-talk. If you standing in the mirror and you like, I hate this stomach, or look at this weight, look how, and you're not, feeling and expressing a love for your physicality. That also creates a vibration that attracts more of what you do not want. Yeah? So the self-talk, it's always got to be about love. Always. Get your mind right and tell yourself, your body, I love you hips. I love you belly. I love you big old boobs. I ain't never had boobs this big in my life, but my goodness gracious, your body is doing the best that it can with what you are giving it. She is doing as best she can to keep you alive and thriving and well and healthy and vital. And she's doing the best she can based on the driver of the car is staying on the road as best it can based on the driver. So if you are, nutritionally eating poorly and late at night and drinking alcohol and all these other things that your body has to deal with to try to keep you healthy and vital and alive, these are all roadblocks to whatever physical health and wellness success that you want to have, And the self-talk is also a form of nutrition. It's a way in which you're feeding your mind about your physicality. So look in the mirror, girl, these hips are awesome. We're going to do a little better to get you a little tighter because, we're older now. And we know, being older is, if you have a lot of weight on you when you're older, it's really not healthy and helpful for you. So self-talk, get your mind right. One more on that before I go. When I started, this journey, I realized that, I was like, okay, Samu, you got to do something about this, honey. The mama yoga is mama yogaing. What is happening, And so I sat in reflection and meditation about the changes that I wanted to make. And I saw this image rather, in my mind of this woman like crying, oh my God, I'm so fat. I hate being so fat, and shoving like donuts in her face. You got to get your mind right. Got to get your actions must be congruent. That is seamlessly fit with what it is you say you want to do. So get your mind right. That's step 1. Step 2, prep for your success. Prepare yourself for your success. Now, how I did that was I had daily visualizations throughout the day, envisioning myself walking more, envisioning myself not eating late, because with the whole hormonal changes, you begin to crave, not just sweets and carbohydrates, but it's also like a sense of comforting. yourself, right? They call it comfort food for a reason. What is in pain that needs comforting, right? So a lot of times we seek that with the food that we eat. We seek comfort. We seek, the self-soothing and self-medication through the food, the hand to mouth, interaction, and then the chemical reaction that takes place when you eat certain foods, right? So prepare yourself for success. If you live with people, let them know, you're going to be changing your eating schedule. You're not eating after 7 p.m. In fact, you're going to go take a walk. If they want to walk with you, that's fine. Prepare yourself for success. If there's a whole cabinet full of, tasty cake pies, and you got ice cream in the freezer and all these kinds of things, you want to get rid of that stuff. Take it down to the soup kitchen, or, somewhere like that. You want to give it away, or you want to throw it out, but you want to have as less temptations around, and you want to prepare yourself for success in the house. Another way I like to prepare myself is I am a list person. Like, I do very well when I have it written in front of me and I tick it off. I'm checking it off. I've done that. I do very well with that type of structure. If that helps you, then create a list of what you're going to do for the day the night before. Get your sneakers right at the door, right at the bedside, or what have you. Well, I'm a person who don't believe you should have shoes on in the house, but you put your workout gear, your walking gear, in close proximity where you will see it when you get up, and you create the space so that your environment comes to support you and helps you, right? So prepare for your success. The one thing that is the most interesting is you now, especially with this time of year, it's the spring, everybody's talking about, I got to get my body right, my summer body, and all that kind of thing. It has taken you quite a bit of time to put this weight on. With the hormonal changes, as well as the way we eat and the lack of activity, this thing has happened over years. This ain't just all of a sudden you went from, 160 to 280. It doesn't happen all of a sudden. So you're not really going to get rid of that bodily excess fat on the body, excess weight on the body in 3 months like that. If you do, it's probably not the healthiest. And the whole point is health, vitality, and longevity. That is the whole point. Yes, the side effect, the trade-off, the bonus points, if you will, are a more, pleasing aesthetic, right? A more pleasing figure, like, mama's seeing the waist snatch in, come on here now. You carry yourself a little different when the waist is, a little more pulled in. But that's not the point. The aesthetic is not really the point. Rushing through healing your physical, your mental, your spiritual, and shedding, the dynamics that help to create the weight gain is a methodical, slow, and steady process. So losing, 40 pounds in 3 months that's not really, realistic. You want to take your time, but you want to be intentional, and you want to be, consistent. The average weight loss protocols say that, a half a pound a day or a pound a day is good. That's a lot of weight, right? That's a lot of shedding. A lot of times to get that, you have to do really extreme things. What you want to do, in my opinion, and what helped me, is first quiet the mind about the urgency and the rush and the whole, I want it now. It's got to happen tomorrow. If I don't get on that scale, let's say 10 pounds after a week, then people tend to give up. But this is about a complete restructuring, a complete redirection of your care and self-love for your vitality, your longevity, and your health and wellness, right? So slow and steady wins the race. Consistency is the key. As long as you are adjusting your diet consistently, as you are active and moving out, walking, exercising consistently, turning down sweets and excess carbohydrates consistently, your body will seek the equilibrium of health and vitality, which produces shedding whatever is not supportive. And that is too much weight on the body, right? It's about steady, slow, and steady. So when you hear these things, I'm going to take this pill, I'm going to go here, I'm going to drink only water for whatever, this ends up really not being the healthiest way. And what you want is the healthiest way. You want to build muscle as well as help the body get rid of what is not serving her. And a lot of times that is producing, that is seen as the excess weight that's on the body. Okay? Slow and steady. All these weight loss quick dynamics, calm the mind, relax, and be intentional and determined, and you will see progress and change. Your body will seek its equilibrium of what is wellness and vitality and health for you. Okay? Slow and steady. The fourth suggestion I want to offer is it's about the journey. It's not about yesterday I was this and today I'm that. Our lives are designed to help us understand who we are. Who we are as connected to our family lineage, who we are as connected to the ancestral realm, who we are as connected to God and God's love in the world. Oftentimes, when we put on excess weight, it is a spiritual as well as physical, mental, mind, body, energy dynamic. It is, a imbalance of the equilibrium of our health and vitality. So my suggestion and what I did was I had to sit with the errors that I was creating or making that put my body, my physicality out of equilibrium. I had to process what was happening with me, mind, body, and energy, spiritually, what was happening that, put distance between the equilibrium, the balance of my highest physical expression and my spiritual connection. It's a spiritual thing. It is. When you sit and look at it, you can see that there is a spiritual dynamic happening when we have excess weight and these things on happening with our physical, right? Even in complementary medical science, right? Natural healing practitioners will often say that your dis-ease has a spiritual component. There is a vibrational, spiritual, metaphysical component to your whatever dis-ease or whatever out of balance physical dynamic is happening with the person. Having excess weight on the body is no different. So it's about the journey. You got to calm the mind and grasp the understanding of what is actually happening within your consciousness, within your energy state and your physical, why that's showing up physically for you, right? It's about the journey. So you can move through, your life, this process in your life in a way that is not, necessarily dictated by ads that come across your social media feed or how somebody else said that they lost weight or whatever. What's happening within you as to why your body is holding on to this excess weight, right? And it helps you when you journal, when you write down how you're feeling, when you begin to pay attention. I'm eating, I feel this way, and I find myself sitting here with Snickers bars, right? Why am I self-soothing? What is happening within that, I am needing this external comfort that is then creating, this storage on my body, right? Sometimes whether a person believes it or not, or realizes it, I should say, or not, excess weight on the body is kind of like a barrier. I heard a story where a woman was saying that because she was abused as a child, she maintained, excess weight on her body because she didn't want anybody to find her attractive. That's a spiritual dynamic, you know? That is a metaphysical spiritual dynamic that is at play there. It's not just physical. And then when she got to a certain understanding of healing by doing the work on herself, she was able to help her body release what no longer served her. So it's up to each of us. I had to look at that within myself. What is happening where not just the hormonal dynamic, but what's happening on all of the various levels of my consciousness as to why, I've put on this much weight and that my physical body is out of equilibrium. So that's what I did. I had to sit with that. Now, you could just take it from, a less, self reflective perspective and be like, whatever, Mama Yoga, that's all good. But I'm going to get me a diet and a way to eat that's not holding weight. And I'm going to exercise. And that's what I'm going to do. And that's what's top of my mind. That's all good. If that is the way that you make the adjustment, that is all good. Do that. But I am just saying that, a lot of times there are layers to these dynamics, and none of us can stand in judgment of anyone else. You can't judge, You could say, oh, look at so, yeah, okay. You don't know what's going on in so and so's life. You don't know what, spiritually is transpired. You don't know how that person is coping with what is going on in their life. And it just may be showing up as, the comfort that they are seeking, the self-soothing that they are seeking is coming through food and over excess of indulging. And the body is storing that, right? So it's about the journey. Number 5, what I did for myself is build momentum with the little wins. The beginning, it wasn't easy, I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna, and then, somebody having something, Lord have mercy. This is actually, I've lost quite a bit of weight, and it's been over a year that I've been on my weight loss journey. This weight loss journey. It's been over a year. People may be just now seeing it, but this started January of 24, So January 24, I was, I was saying, okay, I'm going to lose this weight and figure out what's going on and adjust the way I'm eating and why am I eating all these comfort foods? What do I need comforting from? Part of it was the passing of my mom and her 2 sisters all back to back, and some other dynamics, in terms of community and everything that, I was needing self-soothing from. The persona was needing self-soothing from, right? And so January 24, I'm doing exercises and everything. Actually, before then, because it was April of 23. Here I go, right? I'm just going to share this with y'all, right? April 23, I'm like, oh my God, you was like quite fluffy, girl. It was a juicy mama, more juicy than you needed to be. And I started exercising, and, my personality is we both feed in. Whatever I'm doing 100%, that's it. We both feed in. So instead of just going to walk and, at that weight, huge amount of weight, I'd never been that heavy in my life. Instead of just going to walk and, make the dietary adjustments and things, what I do, I go and jump into CrossFit. Go jump into CrossFit March of 23. And I'm doing CrossFit and I'm doing it. And because my person likes that kind of stuff. I like HIIT and Tabata and, the strength and the bicycling and all that. I like that kind of stuff. Not at, 260 pounds, baby. Not at the weight you were. And they were like, yeah. So one day we did 168 deadlifts, and I forget the name because I'd say, okay, we're not doing this. But anyway, the snatch, right? Power snatches or whatever is the right term. Y'all will correct me in there. 168 each, like a lot. And I left because, you squat and then you pull up. You squat and you pull the bar up. You squat, you pull the bar up. 168 deadlifts, right? Romanian deadlifts where your knees are slightly bent, right? Down and up. Okay. I go get in the car and my knee is like burning behind the back of the knee. And I'm like, what? Child. But by the time I get home, the CrossFit gym is 7 minutes from my house. By the time I get home, my knee is on fire and I could barely get out of the car. That is how much pain I was in. So I get home, I go get in the house. I'm like limping. I'm like, what is it? Long story short, I tore my meniscus. So I can't exercise because I got to heal from the meniscus tear. Now, whatever gains I had made in a couple of months of being at CrossFit, in terms of, the scale moving a little bit, the diet was on point, I stopped eating at, night or whatever, was seeing the triggers for the comfort food, really leaning into working on, balancing my energy out. I lost that. I'm not going to say I lost it, right? I'm just trying to speak plainly without mincing words and coding and all of that. Just say it like it is. The momentum died because now I got to heal from this meniscus tear, right, in my knee. I never broke any bones, never had any, even running the Broad Street Run, which is a 10-mile run, and all these things. I've been exercising, playing tennis. I have tennis championships. Never had any tears, brokes, but I had never been that heavy either. The research shows that for every pound you're overweight is 4 pounds of pressure on your hips and knees. For every pound you are overweight is 4 additional pounds of pressure on your hips and knees, weight bearing joints, right? So if a person is 50 pounds overweight, that's 200 additional pounds of pressure in addition to the weight you're carrying. 200 additional pounds of pressure on your hips and knees. So when you're jogging and when you're doing these Olympic lifts, at a rapid pace, and you're just really not conditioned. I was not conditioned. And so, you have to prepare for these types of things. It was too much body weight for the pressure and for what, the activity I was doing. Okay, so I'm healing from the meniscus. This is what I'm talking about, the journey, y'all. And instead of being like, I had momentum, I was on a roll, I was seeing some results, limited, but some steady. We're moving in the right direction. Now I have to pull back and heal from this dynamic of the meniscus tear. All right. They told me, I went to the doctors. They say you don't need surgery. They complimented me on my cartilage and no arthritis, none of that. Hallelujah. Thank God. Small wins. We got to count them. But the reality of it is that I was sidelined. So, I just wasn't able to exercise. And you can change your diet, you can do all of that, but you still have to move your body. Long story short, December 23 comes around, and by January, I was like, okay, this is it. January 24, I got to make some changes. And I did. And one of the main changes I really had to do was calm my mind. Because again, you're seeing all of these. You can lose weight, lose 50 pounds in 3 months with this pill and that diet and this exercise. You don't like your belly, you can do this, buy this ab roller machine and your belly will go away in 2 months. All of that is nonsense, right? One of my dear friends, and I've used her exercise videos quite a bit. She's a dear friend of mine, Chris Dorner. She's at C Dorner Fitness on YouTube. Wonderful lady. She does step and she does aerobics and kickboxing and all this thing. And like I said, she's a good friend of mine. She does every week, she does a myth buster. And she talks about you can't spot train, right? People think, oh, I want to lose my abdomen. That's the main thing with most folks, right? People don't usually want to lose their butt. They mostly want to lose that belly, honey, that thing hanging over, whatever. So, but she talks about it, you cannot spot train. Your body's going to pull and burn up the excess from where it determines is the best and easiest pathway. So January 24, here we are, April 25, I'm down 55 pounds and I have some more to go because, I got to get in championship But it's about the journey and the momentum, small wins. If I had just pulled the covers over my head after the meniscus tear and just went further into the need to self soothe, I wouldn't have found a way. But, if you know me, if you've been connected to me over all these years that I've been providing Magical Mother, women's health and coaching, and Mama Yoga Wellness, you know that I'm a determined person. And if there is a way that it can get done, I'm going to find a way. Right. So here we are, 55 pounds lighter. And, I've learned a lot about myself in this stage of life because I'm in a different stage of life, and I'm happy about it. Ain't no sense in fighting it. Ain't no sense in fussing. Ain't no sense in trying to, you see a video with me and my granddaughter where we're doing one of those dances, like, well, where they at, that dance. And my granddaughter is all, honey, she all down to the ground. And I'm just standing there, just waving my hips. I'm like, what for what? What for, man? I ain't gonna, why do I need to go all, it's okay. I got the wine right here, honey, at the top. So anyway, the whole thing is health, vitality, strength, longevity, and aging not just gracefully, but with a certain level of vigor, a certain level of vitality. Last thing I'll share with this video, and then I'll close it out because it is going longer than I want. Right. I'm speaking to my seasoned women now. Right. I heard a talk show host, a podcaster, Joe Budden, as a matter of fact, say they were talking about something, I don't know. They were talking about women, as usual, and he was saying that 60-year-old women need to go take a nap, like go to sleep. What you trying to be, wearing whatever and being out in the street or whatever for, what you trying to compete with 25-year-old women for. 60-year-old women can't compete with 25-year-old women. They need to go take a nap, right? I don't agree with the nap part. I do agree that as a woman who is in a seasoned period, you don't have to compete with young women. You shouldn't even be trying to compete with young women. Why? Right? When you are a young woman, you have to supplement your wisdom because you don't know nothing. Right? It's not a slight to young women. I'm just saying it's two different dynamics of womanhood. When you are a young woman, 20s, 30s, sometimes even up to 40s, but when we get to 40s, some stuff needs to change. But when you're a young woman, you have to supplement your wisdom because you don't know nothing. So you learn and you study and you find out about life, and life gives you certain lessons to help you gain a certain level of wisdom as you mature. But when you're a woman, 45, 50, 60, 70, that's when it's not about competition, but it's about a love and a zest for life. That's when you supplement your aesthetics because things change. That's just ain't nothing stays the same. Saying now, Lord, Samu, come on here now. Nothing stays the same except change. Things change. Your boobs don't sit up as much. I'm not saying you need to go get surgery. I'm just saying you got to wear better undergarments. You may put on a few pounds. You got to figure out how to supplement the aesthetics. You might want to buy better undergarments. You might want to lose some of those extra pounds. You might want to learn different dynamics that will help you have a more healthy and a, more longevity facing aesthetic. Sometimes you got to get your hair done, buy hairs, put hairs in, get some color. You supplement the aesthetics because things change. And there's wisdom in the capacity to do that. Just like in business, a lot of times, especially us, cultural folk, we always want to do everything ourselves and we only want to work with certain people and all of that. That's not how to be successful in business. Sometimes you have to supplement where you are not strong at. You have to share out the work, right? So all of it is about the journey. All of it is about self-love. All of it is about caring about your persona, your person, about yourself. All of it is about caring about yourself. No matter what stage, no matter what age, no matter where you are, if your body is carrying more weight than you want it to, then my suggestion is that you adjust. You look at the 5 points, the 5 steps that I just shared. Get your mind right. Keep your self-talk positive and loving. Prep for success. Get that food that you ain't supposed to be eating out of your house. Slow and steady wins. You ain't going to lose 50 pounds in 3 months. If you do, it's probably not healthy. And then you're creating a whole nother problem, right? Slow and steady. Find techniques that will help you gain momentum over time. And realize it's about the journey, right? Pay attention to the things that trigger you to maybe eat comfort foods. What needs to be comforted? What needs to be soothed? What needs to be healed? That is to why you are, indulging in the comfort foods. And then over time, build momentum, celebrate the small wins little by little. And not only will your body create the equilibrium of losing weight, you will have learned something about yourself that you could take on into the next stage, right? You will, have gained a certain other jewel in your crown of wisdom about you and who you are and how you can do hard things and adjust your life for the win. All right. Thank y'all for listening. I'm going to share more and I'll tell you about the fasting. Yeah. The fasting, a protocol that I did. I'll share that in the next video or two, as well as I'll share some of the regimens that I use to help me correct and provide space for the equilibrium of my mind, body, and energy. I love y'all. Till next time, we'll see you soon. Peace and love.